Naskarilang isang freight train sa Texas matapos sumalpok sa tumatawid na truck.
Nakaligtas naman kaya ang driver ng truck at gaano naman kalala ang pinsala ng aksidente? Ay nako, sisilipin po natin yan mamaya mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Huwebes.
Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. nilinaw ang status ng clemency ni Mary Jane Veloso.
Lieutenant General Arthur Cordura itinalaga bilang bagong hepe ng Philippine Air Force.
China at India nagkasundong pahupain ang kanilang tensyon sa pinag-aagawang teritoryo.
Dalawang piloto ng private jet sa Argentina patay sa plane crash.
At Grok AI libre na para sa mga ex-users. Malayo pa tayo doon. Ito po ang sinabi ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. hinggil sa posibilidad na ipagkaloob kay Mary Jane Veloso ang clemency.
Paliwanag naman ng Pangulo, kakauwi pa lamang ni Veloso sa Pilipinas at ipapaubayan na nito sa mga legal experts ang kapalaran ng Pinay. Sa kabila nito ay pinasalamatan naman ng Pangulo ang Indonesia sa pagbabalik ng kustodiya kay Veloso. Sa ilalim kasi ng practical arrangement ng Pilipinas at Indonesia ay habang buhay na sentensya ni Veloso ay nasa ilalim na ng jurisdiksyon ng Pilipinas. Kabilang narito ang mga otoridad na magbigay ng clemency, remission, amnesty at mga katulad na hakbang. Nauna nang sinabi ni Justice Undersecretary Raul Vasquez na ang clemency bid ni Veloso ay seryosong pinag-aaralan.
Tinukoy ng Department of Foreign Affairs o DFA nito Miyerkules na nasa 59 na Pilipino sa ibang bansa ang nahaharap sa death sentences kung saan karamihan sa mga ito ay dahil po sa murder. Ayon kay Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Eduardo de Vega, ang mga natukoy na Pilipino ay nasa Malaysia at Saudi Arabia at may informal moratorium sa death penalty. Sinabi rin ng kalihim na ginagawa ng Pilipinas ang lahat para mapagkalooban ng mga Pilipino sa Saudi Arabia na mapagkalooban sila ng pardon. Ang pahayag na ito ng DFA ay kasunod ng pagbalik Pinas ni Pinay death row convict Mary Jane Veloso mula sa Indonesia.
Hindi maitago ni Senadora Amy Marcos ang kanyang opinyon na may mga irregularidad sa pagsasapinal ng 6.532 trillion pesos na pambansang budget para sa susunod na taon. Nanindigan ng Senadora na dapat ibalik sa Bicameral Conference Committee ang panukalang budget kaysa i-veto ito ng kanyang kapatid na si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
This is talaga naman a very, very bad budget. Talagang ito ay labag sa konstitusyon, labag sa ilang batas, at labag sa damdamin at pangangailangan ng tao. So, kinakailangan at humihingi nga ako na i-recommit na lamang sa BICAM.
Giit ni Senadora Marcos, hindi ito dapat pirmahan ng Pangulo dahil hindi matutugunan ng 2025 national budget ang pangangailangan ng mga mahihirap. Patuloy din kinwestiyon ni Senadora ang ilang probisyon ng national budget gaya na lamang ng mataas na pondo para sa Department of Public Works and Highways o DPWH, ngunit mababang alokasyon naman para sa Department of Education o DepEd. May mga umuugong na ring balita na baka gawing fundraising daw ang 2025 national budget para sa impeachment na isinusulong sa Kamara.
Ako'y nangangamba at kinakabahan na baka naman hindi tama ang payo sa aking kapatid. Alam po ninyo, technically, I think the President is absolutely right that in fact, once the bill has been endorsed to him and it's already on his table, all he can do is to veto line by line, the budget. However, ito mauuwi sa zero. Magiging zero. Kung ano man line item na dito, wala naman pupuntahan yan kundi zero. Naka-zero na nga yung PhilHealth, ine-negative 74 billion pa ba?
Kaya nakiusap si Senator Marcos na huwag pilitin ang ibang kanyang kapatid na pirmahan ang alanganing pondo. At kung hindi aabot ang budget for next year ay mas mabuti anya na ipatupad na lamang ang reenacted budget.
Itinalaga ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. bilang bagong hepe ng Philippine Air Force o PAF, si Lieutenant General Arthur Cordura.
The road ahead is not without its challenges, but I am confident that you will rise to meet those challenges. With your steadfast leadership, you can guide the Air Force towards becoming an institution that is more agile, credible, and responsive to the demands of an ever-evolving security landscape.
Which his duties and responsibilities as the Commanding General of the Philippine Air Force and has now been turned over to Lieutenant.
Sa isinagawang change of command ceremony sa Villamor Air Base sa Pasay City ay tuluyang nang nagretiro sa pwesto si Lieutenant General Stephen Pareño bilang Commanding General ng PAF. Papalitan ni Corduro si Pareño at magiging ika-4 na pong Commanding General ng Air Force. Ayon sa Pangulo, malaki ang kanyang tiwala kay Cordura na pangunahan ang hukbong panghimpapawid ng Pilipinas. Si Cordura ay miyembro ng PMA Bigkislahi Class of 1990 at nagtapos bilang cum laude at top 10 ng kanyang PMA class. Hindi rin matatawaran ang academic credentials nito at mga posisyong hinawakan sa militar bago maging Commanding General ng PAF. Sa kabila nito ay nanawagan din ang Pangulo sa incoming Air Force Chief at sa buong hukbong maging alerto. Binigyan din ni PBBM na patuloy na isagawa ang mga prinsipyo ng karangalan, tungkulin at kahusayan sa pagkamit ng mas mataas na antas at masiguro ang kaligtasan at kapakanan ng sambayanang Pilipino.
Planong ibenta ng Department of Agriculture ang mas masustansya at mas murang bigas sa susunod na taon. Sa media interview kay Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr., sinabi nitong kapwa itong ibebenta sa mga kadiwa stores para mabenepisyohan ng mas maraming Pilipino. Ayon sa kalihim, ang sulit rice ay purong durog pero puting bigas na ibebenta sa halagang 35 hanggang 36 pesos kada kilo. Habang ang Nutri Rice naman ay hindi puting bigas na local rice na mabibili naman sa halagang 36 hanggang 37 pesos kada kilo. Nakatakdang ilunsad ng DA ang pagbebenta ng sulit rice sa Enero at ang Nutri Rice naman sa kalagitnaan ng 2025.
Ayon sa Department of Health o DOH, handa ang Pilipinas na harapin ang anumang umuusbong na sakit, kagaya ng Disease X na nakita sa Democratic Republic of Congo sa Africa. Sinabi ng World Health Organization o WHO na umabot na sa higit 400 individual ang nagkakasakit dahil sa Disease X. 31 na rin ang namatay dahil sa sakit na ito. Karamihan sa mga biktima ay mga batang wala pang 5 taong gulang. Ilan nila sa sintomas ng Disease X ay lagnat, ubo, sakit ng ulo at pananakit ng katawan. Sinabi naman ni DOH Secretary Teodoro Herbosa na ang Disease X ay posibleng emerging or re-emerging disease na naklasify na noon ng WHO. Gayunpaman ay minomonitor pa rin ito ng DOH bilang bahagi ng kanilang international health regulation responsibilities. Kumpiyansa rin ang Health Secretary sa kakayahan ng Pilipinas na harapin ang anumang banta sa kalusugan dahil marami na anyang natutunan ang bansa sa pagharap nito sa COVID-19 pandemic.
Pinag-iingat ng Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center o CICC ang publiko laban sa social media accounts na nag-aalok ng SIM registration service kapalit ng maliit na bayad. Inihayag ng CICC ang pagka-alarma dahil sa napag-alamang social media account na may pangalang Dito Telecommunity na humihimok sa publiko na mag-avail ng serbisyo nito na available sa lahat ng networks. Kinumpirma naman ng Dito Telecommunity Corporation na hindi sa kanilang naturang social media account at wala itong pinahintulutang gawin ang naturang serbisyo. Kaya paalala ni CICC Executive Director Alexander Ramos sa publiko, personal na magparehistro ng kanyang SIM card users o ang mga SIM card users sa kani-kanilang networks. Saad pa niya, maaaring gamitin ang ganitong uri ng social media accounts ang impormasyong nakalap nila para sa panloloko, katulad ng phishing scams.
Kinundina ng PDP laban ang rekomendasyon ng House Quad Committee o Quadcom na sampahan ang kaso sina dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, Senator Bato de la Rosa, Senator Bongo at iba pang miyembro ng Duterte administration dahil sa war on drugs nito. Malinaw anila na may kinalaman sa politika ang ginawa ng Quadcom at walang malinaw na legal at malinaw na batayan ang mga aksyon nito. Sinabi rin ng PDP laban na ang mga testimonya na ginawa bago ang Marathon Quadcom investigations ay nakuha nila sa pamimilit at ang mga resource persons ay palaging pinagbabantaan ng contempt kung hindi nila sila sumusunod sa script ng Quadcom. Isinagawa rin nila ng Quadcom ang investigasyon na walang due process at may bias laban kay Duterte at umabot pa ang investigasyon sa isang House Committee na nagtagkang idiin si Vice President Sara Duterte sa umano'y maling paggamit ng pondo. Samantala, welcome naman para kay Davao City Representative Paulo Duterte ang anumang investigasyong isasagawa ng isang impartial at credible na kinatawan. Walaan niya siyang tinatago at committed siya na malinis ang pangalan ng kanyang pamilya. Tiwala rin si Congressman Paulo na malalantad ang katotohanan ang walang basehang katangian na mga paratang sa kanila. Naniniwala naman si Senator Amy Marcos na magandang pagkakataon ito upang mabigyan ng pagkakataon ang mga inaakusahang sumagot sa mga aligasyon laban sa kanila.
I think karapatan ng mga committee sa Congress maglabas ng anumang committee report at mag-recommend ng pagpapile ng kaso. Ako, noong pa, sinasabi ko na talaga, dali na sa korte yan, sapat na yung ebidensya. Kung tingin ninyo, yung katibayan ay sapat, dali na sa korte yan sa lalong madaling panahon. Pagkat hindi naman nakakapag-convict, parusa, sentensya ang ating mga mambabatas, dilayan na natin. Dapat kung may dapat managot, pasagutin na kaagad.
Susunod, China at India nagkasundo ukol sa contested territories.
Mga sundalo ng North Korea na matay sa Russia-Ukraine war.
At suspect sa likod ng pagbomba sa isang opisyal ng Russia, nahuli na. Mga detalye na mga balita nga na at iba pa sa pagbabalik na Mata ng Agila International.
Be your own health advocate by turning into your own expert. We are your coach. Without any fiction and with lots of facts. Be active in a clever way. in good shape.
Hindi palalampasin.
Ang katotohanan ay hindi dapat itokhang.
I believe, ma'am, that we reached the point of no return.
Mga kwento sa likod ng balita, bubusisiin,
Meron po ba kayong nalalaman tungkol dito sa assassination plot naman po laban sa pamilya Duterte?
Is that normal na yung SDO naubaya yung ganyang kalaking pera po sa security officer?
ASPN. Ano sa palagay nyo? Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga, dito lang sa Net 25.
Together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Sa unang pagkakataon matapos ang 5 taon ay nagsagawa ng isang high-level dialogue ang China at India upang pahupain ang tensyon sa pagitan ng kanilang mga puwersa sa Himalayan border. Muling pinagtibay ni Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi at India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval ang kanilang pangako na maghahanap sila ng mga solusyon na patas at katanggap-tanggap para resolbahin ang kanilang pinagtatalunang border sa Galawan Valley. Tiniyak ng dalawang opisyal na patuloy nilang ipatutupad ang isang disengagement agreement upang maiwasang maapektuhan ang pag-unlad ng bilateral ties ng China at India. Mahigit 70 dekada ng pinag-aagawan ng China at ng India ang 3,379 kilometer na de facto border na kilala bilang Line of Actual Control o LAC at upang proteksyonan ang kanilang interes ay parehong nag-deploy ang Beijing at New Delhi ng mga sundalo sa LAC. Ilang beses na ring nagkaroon ng madugong sagupaan ng mga sundalo ng China at India sa LAC na siyang dahilan ng kanilang mga high-level meetings.
Hindi bababa sa 100 sundalo ng North Korea ang napaslang sa digmaan ng Russia at Ukraine habang umaabot na ang bilang ng mga sugatang sundalo ng Pyongyang sa 1,000. Ayon po sa National Intelligence Service ng South Korea, walang kasanayan sa pakikidigma ang mga taga North Korea at hindi nila pamilyar ang mga ito sa open terrain.
최소 100여 명의 사망자가 발생하였고 부상자는 1,000여 명에 가까이 달할 것으로 보인다고 국정원은 보고를 했습니다. 쾌활지라는 낯선 전장 환경에서 북한군이 전선 돌격대 역할로 소모되고 있다는 점과 또 드론 공격에 대한 대응 능력 부족 등이 배경이라고 설명을 하고 있습니다.
Samantala, kinundena ng North Korea ang pahayag ng Estados Unidos at ng mga kaalyado nito ukol sa lumalalim na relasyon ng Pyongyang at Moscow. Giit ng North Korea, binabaluktot at sinisiraan ng US, G7 at European Union ang normal cooperative relations ng Pyongyang at Moscow. Ipinagmalaki rin ng Pyongyang ang alyansang militar nito sa Russia at sinabing napaka-epektibo nito sa pagpigil sa impluwensya ng Estados Unidos at ng mga kaalyado nito at sa pagtiyak ng pagbabalanse ng kapangyarihan para ipaglaban ang kapayapaan at seguridad.
Inaresto ng mga kapulisan sa Russia ang isang 29-year-old na lalaki mula sa Uzbekistan na nasa likod ng pamamaslang kay Senior General Igor Kirillov at assistant nito sa Moscow.
В ФСБ сообщили о задержании подозреваемого в убийстве начальника войск РХБЗ Игоря Кириллова. По данным спецслужбы, это гражданин Узбекистана. ФСБ также опубликовала...
Hindi na inilabas pa ng Russian Investigative Committee ang pagkakakilanlan ng sospek kung saan ito umano ay binayaran ng Ukrainian Special Services. Una nang inamin ng Security Service ng Ukraine na SBU na sila ang nasa likod ng nasabing operasyon. Magugunitang napatay si Kirillov matapos lagyan ng bomba ang kanyang electric scooter na nakaparada sa harap ng apartment building nito sa Moscow. Ang nasawing Russian general ay siyang namumuno ng Radiation, Chemical and Biological Protection Forces ng Russia. Kamakailan lang ay inakusahan siya na gumamit ng ipinagbabawal na kemikal upang hindi makahinga ang mga sundalo ng Ukraine sa frontline ng giyera.
Следователями Главного следственного управления Следственного комитета России во взаимодействии с ФСБ и МВД России по подозрению в совершении теракта, в результате которого погиб Игорь Кириллов и его помощник Илья Поликарпов, задержан гражданин Республики Узбекистан 1995 года рождения. Задержанный доставлен к следователю, с ним проводятся следственные действия. В ходе допроса он пояснил, что был завербован украинскими спецслужбами. По их заданию он прибыл в Москву и получил самодельное взрывное устройство. Он разместил его на электросамокате, который припарковал у подъезда жилого дома, где проживал Игорь Кириллов. Для наблюдения за местом проживания военнослужащего он арендовал автомобиль каршеринга, в котором установил видеокамеру. Съемка с нее транслировалась организатором теракта в онлайн-режиме в город Днепр. После того, как поступил видеосигнал о выходе военнослужащих из подъезда, взрывное устройство было дистанционно приведено им в действие. За совершение этого преступления исполнителю гарантировалось денежное вознаграждение в размере $100 тысяч США и выезд в одну из европейских стран для проживания. Устанавливаются иные лица, причастные к организации этого преступления.
Para sa Russia, ang arms control ay bahagi na ng nakaraan. Alamin natin kung bakit sa report na ito ni Rosel Feria.
Noong Miyerkules, inakusahan ng hepe ng General Staff na si Valery Gerasimov ang Estados Unidos ng panunukso ng kaguluhan sa mundo. Binabaliwala na rin ni Gerasimov ang mga pangunahing Cold War arms control treaties. Anya, bilang tugon, bubuo ng relasyon ang Russia sa China, India, Iran, North Korea at Venezuela.
Причиной, по которой Соединенные Штаты вышли из этих соглашений, стало стремление обеспечить возможность создания новых видов оружия, которые считались наиболее разрушительными. В первую очередь, это ракеты средней и меньшей дальности, а также средства противоракетной обороны Соединенных Штатов для развертывания в Европе и Азиатско-Тихоокеанском регионе, что провоцирует гонку стратегических наступательных вооружений.
Ang Russia at US ang pinakamalaking lakas militar sa mundo. Kapwa ito nagpahayag ng panghihinayang sa pagkalas ng arms control treaties na layon sanang pabagalin ang labanan at pababain ang banta ng gerang militar. Inaakusahan ng US ang Russia ng pagkalas sa mga kasunduan tulad ng 1972 Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty at ng 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces II INF Treaty. Formal na umatras ang US sa INF Treaty noong 2019 dahil anya sa paglabag ng Russia na itinanggi naman ng Moscow. At noong 2002, umatras din ang US sa ABM Treaty. Noong 2023, sinuspinde ni Pangulong Vladimir Putin ang partisipasyon ng Russia sa New START Treaty na lumilimita sa strategic nuclear weapons ng kapwa partido. Sinisisi nito ang suporta ng US sa Ukraine. Sa kabila ng ilang pagbitiw na ito, nananatiling sang-ayon ang Moscow at Washington sa warhead, missile at bomber limits na nakasaad sa kasunduan. Dagdag ni Gerasimov, ang deployment ng US missiles sa Europe at Asia ay nanunukso ng strategic offensive arms race. Nababahala rin ng Russia sa kasabay ng pagpapalakas ng puwersa ng US sa Pilipinas.
В марте вооруженные силы Украины самостоятельно не имеют возможности вводить данные космической разведки, обеспечить подготовку полетных заданий для ракет. Фактически США после ударов по территории России стали непосредственными участниками конфликта.
Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Ibinahagi ng United Kingdom ang mga nilalaman ng dagdag na £225 million o katumbas po yan ng $286 million na defense package na kanilang ipadadala sa Ukraine. Ang nasabing halaga ay bahagi ng military assistance na ipinangako ni UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer noon pang buwan ng Setyembre. Ito ang tugon ng nasabing bansa sa panawagan ng Ukraine sa mga kaalyado nito sa European Union para sa karagdagang tulong sa larangan ng digmaan at diplomasya. Maalalang nais palakasin ni UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer ang relasyon ng Britanya at ng EU simula noong una itong masira dahil sa Brexit. Ang panibagong package ay bubuuin ng small boats, reconnaissance drones, uncrewed surface vessels, loitering munitions, mine countermeasure drones, air defense equipment kasama ang radar, decoy land equipment at counter-drone and electronic warfare systems, support and spare para sa mga armas na naihatid na sa Ukraine at lampas 1,000 counter-drone electronic warfare systems at respirators upang matulungan ang Ukrainian Armed Forces. Maalalang nauna ng pinayagan ni Biden ang Ukraine na gamitin ang missiles nito na kanilang ibinigay panlaban sa Russia.
Ibinunyag na ng British intelligence kung sino ang pinaghihinalaan nilang Chinese businessman na close confidant umano ni Prince Andrew. Alamin nga natin kung sino ito mula kay Judel Alipio.
Pinangalanan ni British Security Minister Dan Jarvis ang isang hinihilang Chinese spy malapit kay Prince Andrew. Ayon sa British intelligence, si Yang Tengbo ay isang 50-year-old na businessman na nakipagkaibigan kay Prince Andrew at naging close confidant pa nito. Nangangamba ang UK government na posible anilang gamitin itong leverage ng China.
Mr. Speaker, the first duty of any government is national security, so we welcome the court's decision to uphold the Home Office's position in regard to the exclusion of H6, who can now be named as Yang Tengbo. The Special Immigration Appeals Commission concluded that there was a basis for the conclusion that H6 had been in a position to generate relationships with prominent UK figures which could be leveraged for political interference purposes by the Chinese Communist Party, including the United Front Work Department and the Chinese state.
Sinabi ni Jarvis na gagamitin ng UK government ang lahat ng paraan, kabilang na ang paghahabla, sanksyon at diplomasya upang tiyakin na ligtas ang United Kingdom sa anumang panghihimasok o pag-espiya ng ibang bansa. Depensa naman ni Yang ay wala siyang ginawang mali at hindi anya siya espiya. Samantala, tinawag namang absurd ni Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian ang akusasyon ng gobyerno ng United Kingdom sa umano'y Chinese espionage activities. Ipinaalala ni spokesperson Lin na ang pagdevelop ng relasyon ng China at United Kingdom ay isang common interest ng dalawang bansa. At nakatutulong din ito sa pagtataguyod ng pandaigdigang paglago ng ekonomiya.
我昨天也已经阐明了我们的立场，所谓中国间谍的指控，十分的荒唐。我想在这里指出，中英关系的发展既符合两国的共同利益，也有利于促进世界经济增长，应对全球性挑战。希望英方同中方相向而行，多积累积极因素，彰显两国合作互利共赢的本质。
Judel Nicole Alipio from London, United Kingdom para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Samantala sa Syria, operational na muli ang domestic flight sa bansa matapos ang pagbagsak ng rehimeng Assad doon. Ang kauna-unahang Syrian domestic flight na nagpasahimpapawid mula Damascus matapos ang pagpapatalsik kay Assad ay lumapag sa Aleppo noong Miyerkules. Makikitang hawak ng mga nakangiting pasahero ang bagong bandera ng Syria pababa ng hagdan ng eroplano. Sa paglapag, sinabi ng pilotong si Ali Omar Rida na umaasa itong magbubukas na sa lalong madaling panahon ang mga rutang internasyonal.
Alhamdulillah, awal rahle بعد سقوط النظام تشغيل بين المدينتين الرئيسيتين في سوريا دمشق وحلب إن شاء الله قريبا بيصير تشغيل منتظم وعلى أمل استعادة الخطوط الدولية قريبا فرحتنا عامرة شعور لا يوصف وإن شاء الله الوطن بيرجع لجميع أبنائه بدون أي عائق لأي حدا وحرية للجميع.
Inilarawan naman ng isa sa mga pasahero na si Safa Othman ang pagiging bahagi ng makasaysayang biyaheng ito.
كل هاي السنين حيرجعوا المغتربين، ما بقى في شباب سوري حلموا انه يسافر، بس حيرجعوا الشباب المغتربين بخبرات جديده حتى نقدر نعمر هي البلد سوا.
Sinabi ng UN Special Envoy para sa Syria na isang malaking bagay upang maayos ang transisyon ng pamahalaan doon kung tatapusin na ang sanctions laban sa Damascus. Si Leslie Gumarang para sa balita.
Ayon kay United Nations Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, ang konkretong paggalaw sa inklusibong transisyong politikal sa Syria ay susi upang matiyak na makakamit ng bansa ang suportang pang-ekonomiya na kailangan nito.
Concrete movement on an inclusive political transition will be key in ensuring Syria receives the economic support it needs. There is clear international willingness to engage. The needs are immense and could only be addressed with broad support, including a smooth end to sanctions, appropriate action on designations too, and full reconstruction.
Humarap si Pedersen at si UNAID Chief Tom Fletcher sa konseho na may 15 miyembro matapos nilang makipagpulong sa Damascus kasama ang mga bagong lider ng bansa. Ito ay matapos patalsikin sa pwesto si Pangulong Bashar al-Assad ng insurgent forces na Hayat Tahrir al-Sham.
With just 2 weeks left in 2024, it is less than a third funded, the largest ever funding gap for the Syria response. Now is the time to invest in the Syrian people, to support flexible funds so that we can respond to changing needs. The UN Central Emergency Response Fund has already allocated $32 million to Syria this year. Now is also the time for member states to work on development support to rebuilding Syria, reducing dependence on humanitarian support, and maintaining essential services. A third request. We need all states to facilitate the humanitarian effort, including by ensuring that sanctions and counterterrorism measures do not impede humanitarian operations.
Nagpataw ng sanctions ang US, Britain, European Union at iba pang bansa sa Syria matapos atakihin ni Assad ang pro-democracy protests noong 2011 na nauwi sa civil war. Subalit lalong nakomplika ang realidad sa Syria ng sanctions laban naman sa HTS noong ito'y kaalyado pa ng Al-Qaeda. Dating kilala bilang Nusra Front, ang HTS ay dating opisyal na sangay ng Al-Qaeda sa Syria. Subalit humiwalay ito noong 2016. Kasabay ng unilateral measures, ang HTS ay nasa UN Security Council Al-Qaeda at Islamic State sanctions list higit sa isang dekada na. Nakapataw rito ang global assets freeze at arms embargo. Umapila si Fletcher sa mga estado na tiyaking hindi hahadlang ang sanctions at counter-terrorism measures sa humanitarian operations sa Syria. Leslie Gumarang para sa mata ng Agila International, Trusted, Connected, On Point.
Ikinagalit ng World Health Organization o WHO ang hindi pagpayag ng Israel na makapasok ang kanilang international medical team sa Kamal Adwan Hospital. Ang nasabing paggamutan ay inatake ng Israel sa hinalang pinagkukutaan ito ng mga militante ng Hamas. Sa ngayon ay patuloy pa rin na pinatatamaan ng Israel ang naturang lugar upang puksain ang umano'y mga pinaghihinalaang nagtatago rito, na nagresulta naman sa matinding pinsala sa paggamutan kung saan maraming mga pasyente doon ang nasugatan. Ikinababahala nila ngayon ang pagdami ng mga masasawi pa dahil sa kawalan ng supply ng kuryente na siyang malaking tulong sa mga pasyente. Una nang kinundina na rin ng WHO ang patuloy na pag-atake ng Israel Defense Forces sa mga medical facilities.
قبل قليل قدم إلينا قافلة من منظمة الصحة العالمية محملة ببعض المستلزمات وبعض المستهلكات الطبية وبعض الكمونات الغذائية لمستشفى كمال عدوان، وكذلك تم إدخال كمية قليلة من الوقود، وكذلك تم منع الوفد الطبي القادم مع منظمة الصحة العالمية. وهذا الوفد بصراحة يعني هو الأهم بالنسبة لنا، كونه هذا الوفد يحوي أطباء ذات تخصصات جراحية، لأنه أغلب الإصابات الموجودة في مستشفى كمال عدوان يعني أغلبها تحتاج إلى تدخل جراحي عاجل وليس إلى نقل في اليوم التالي أو الثالث. وبالتالي كنا قد ناشدنا قبل ذلك بمحاولة إدخال الوفود الطبية ذات التخصصات الجراحية لتتناسب مع طبيعة الإصابات التي تأتي إلى مستشفى كمال عدوان.
Tiwala naman ng White House na malapit na sila sa ceasefire deal sa Gaza. Sinabi ni White House spokesperson John Kirby, hindi sila nawawala ng pag-asa para tuluyang maisulong ang peace deal sa pagitan ng Israel at Hamas. Nagkakaroon lamang ng kaunting pagsasaayos sa mga bahagi ng kasunduan para tuluyang mapapayag na nila ang dalawang kampo. Nanguna ang US kasama ang Qatar at Egypt na magsulong ng ceasefire deal sa Hamas at Israel. Sa ilang okasyon, nagtungo na rin sa United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken sa mga kasama nito sa negotiating table upang isulong ang tigil-putukan sa lagpas isang taon ng sagupaan ng Israel at Hamas sa Gaza.
We discussed Gaza and we discussed, I think, the opportunity to finally try to complete the hostage ceasefire agreement, to get the hostages home, to get a ceasefire in place. And what we've seen in the last couple of weeks are more encouraging signs that that is possible. And in my discussions with President Erdogan and with Minister Fadan, we talked about the imperative of Hamas saying yes to the agreement that's possible to finally help bring this to an end.
At dahil sa tinatawag na market anxiety o pagkabahala sa ekonomiya, bumagsak ang halaga ng real ng Brazil noong Lunes. Ito po ay sa gitna ng interbensyon ng Central Bank na nabigong pakalmahin ang market concerns bunsod ng paggastos ng gobyerno. Marjorie Quintos po para sa balita.
Sa kabila ng pagtaas ng halaga ng dolyar sa buong taon, sinasabing ang 30% pagtaas ng halagang ito ay hindi pa nangyari noon.
O dólar começou o ano de janeiro a 4,80. Então, a gente olhando em perspectiva, é uma alta que, embora tenha acelerado agora no final do ano, ela já vem consistente desde janeiro, né? Então, a gente está com quase 30% de alta no câmbio, que é uma coisa sem precedentes. Então, além da máxima histórica nominal, 6,20, que a gente bateu hoje no intradia, a gente está com uma aceleração também nunca vista, que é uma alta de 30% no ano.
Noong Martes, bumuelta ang real sa tinatawag na choppy trading at tumaas ng 0.8% matapos bumagsak sa pinakamababa na 6.15 bawat dolyar sa pagsisimula ng sesyon. Kahit na inaasahan ng Kongreso na magbobotohan ukol sa public spending cut package, sinabi ni Bergayo na nawalan na ng pasensya sa Brazil ang market. Duda ito sa abilidad ng gobyerno at intensyon na balansehin ang mga pampublikong accounts nito.
Há uma expectativa de que o Congresso desidrate ainda esse pacote fiscal. Então perceba que há riscos de todo lado que o investidor está monitorando em relação ao ajuste das contas públicas. Eu diria mais, o mercado perdeu a paciência com o Brasil. O mercado hoje está muito cético em relação à capacidade e intenção do governo de fato equilibrar as contas públicas. Então há uma decepção generalizada do investidor em relação à capacidade do nosso país de equilibrar as contas públicas. E quando eu falo capacidade, é vontade política.
Ang pagbagsak ng real ay kumaltas ng 1.5 ng halaga nito. Ang real ang pinakamahina sa gitna ng umaangat na market currencies. Ang krisis pinansyal na ito ay nakalatag sa kritisismo ni Pangulong Lula sa mataas na halaga ng pangungutang at sa kanyang mga pasaring na pagbabago sa mga tuntunin sa bansa. Marjorie Quintos para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Tahasang sinabi ni US President-elect Donald Trump na alam ng gobyerno ng Estados Unidos kung saan nanggaling at saan nagpunta ang mga namataang drone sa New Jersey at Staten Island kamakailan.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth?
Ang sinabing ito ni Trump ay taliwas sa pahayag ng Pentagon na ang mga nakitang aircraft ay hindi U.S. military drones. Naglabas naman ng opisyal na joint statement ang Federal Bureau of Investigation, Federal Aviation Administration, Department of Homeland Security at ang Department of Defense tungkol sa mga drones. Anila, wala silang nakitang anomalya sa nasabing issue. Pinabulaanan din ng ilang opisyal ng US government na ang mga nakitang drones ay bahagi umano ng isang masamang plano ng ilang foreign agents. Subalit, giit ni Trump, dapat ay ipaalam na lamang ng gobyerno ang katotohanan ukol sa mga naglipa ng drones sa ilang estado ng US.
Susunod, Cyclone Chido patuloy na humahagupit.
Pantapat ng Google sa Sora AI, inilabas na sa publiko.
At Tom Cruise pinarangalan ng Philippine Navy. Mga balita po niyan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Ang mga maiinit na balita
at rumaratsyad ang usapan ng bayan.
Ihahatid namin sa 100%!
100% ang pagbabalita.
100% talakayan.
Lunes hanggang Biyernes.
Alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga.
Live na live sa Radyo Agila 1062 Mega Manila.
At sa Net 25. 100%!
Sa Net 25, let's get together. Sa Net 25.
Patay ang 13 katao matapos ang pagbangga ng naval boat ng India sa isang pampasaherong ferry sa Mumbai, India. Ayon sa Navy, na mayroong 79 na iba pa ang kailang nailigtas mula sa lumubog na ferry. Sa inisyal na investigasyon ng mga otoridad ay nawala ng kontrol ang Indian Navy craft habang ito ay nagsasagawa ng engine trial sa Mumbai Harbor dahil sa engine malfunctions. Tumama ang speedboat ng Indian Navy sa pampasaherong barko na naging sanhi ng paglubog nito. Patungo ang pampasaherong barko sa Elephant Caves na kilala na dinarayo ng mga turista sa karagatang bahagi ng Mumbai nang ito ay bumangga.
Hindi naman nakaligtas ang 2 piloto ng isang private jet sa Argentina matapos tumama ito sa mga kabahayan sa bisinidad ng San Fernando. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, pabalik na sa Buenos Aires mula sa Punta del Este sa Uruguay ang naturang aircraft. Nakalapag na ang eroplano sa runway bandang 1:19 ng hapon pero lumampas ito. Batay sa salaysay ng mga nakasaksi, pinaniniwala ang nawala ng preno ang private jet. Nagdulot naman ng malaking pinsala sa residential area ang pagsabog ng eroplano, kung saan maraming residenteng malapit sa pinangyarihan ng insidente ang nagkagulo. Kinilala ang 2 biktima na sina Martin Fernandez Loza at Agustin Orforte. Inaalam pa rin ng mga otoridad ang sanhi ng pagbagsak ng eroplano.
Nadiskaril ang isang tren sa Texas matapos sumalpok sa isang tumatawid na truck. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nasawi ang isang individual habang sugatan naman ang ibang 4. Naganap ang insidente bandang 5:00 ng hapon malapit sa Oak Street at Stafford Street. Dumiretso ang tren sa gusali ng Chamber of Commerce ng nasabing syudad. Sinabi naman ni Pecos City Manager Charles Lino, 3 sa mga kargong dala ng tren ay naglalaman ng hazardous materials. Subalit, siniguro naman ng opisyal ang publiko na na-contain na ang mga naturang materyales.
Nagsimula na po sa wakas ang relief operations sa Mayotte Island matapos ang pananalanta ng bagyong Chido doon. Si Chido ang pinakamalakas na bagyong dumaan sa isla ng Mayotte sa loob ng 9 na dekada. Si Leo Velasco para sa mga detalye.
Nagsimula ang paspasang pamamahagi ng tulong sa mga biktima ng bagyong si Chido sa Mayotte. Nanatiling hindi malinaw ang bilang ng mga nasawi dahil sa trahedya. Sa kasalukuyan, 22 lamang ang kumpirmadong patay ayon sa mga ospital. Nangangamba ang mga opisyal panlokal at health workers na ang bilang na ito ay malamang na mas mataas. Maraming mga lugar ang hindi pa maaring pasukin na naging dahilan ng komplikasyon kung paano masusuri ang pinsalan ng bagyo at bilang ng mga nasawi. Pinatag ng bagyo ang mga dampa na tahanan ng maraming undocumented migrants. Ang opisyal na bilang ng populasyon ng Mayotte ay nasa 321,000. Subalit dahil nga sa undocumented migrants, na karamihan ay mula sa Comoros at Madagascar, pinaniniwala ang mas marami ang bilang na ito. Naghahanda ang health workers sa posibilidad na pagkalat ng sakit sa mga darating na araw. Ang Mayotte ang pinakamahirap na overseas territory ng France. Nagdaan ito sa ilang ulit na kaguluhan nitong nakaraang mga taon. Leo Velasco para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Higit sa 70% ng kabahayan sa isang bayan ng Mozambique ang winasak ng bagyong si Chido. Noong Miyerkules, nagsimulang magsinop ng kalat ang mga residente ng Mekufi sa katimugang Pemba sa Cabo Delgado region ng Mozambique. Ito ay matapos salantain ni Bagyong Chido ang kanilang lugar kamakailan. Ayon sa UNICEF Chief Field Officer sa Pemba na si Nicolas Wasuna, higit sa 70% ng mga tirahan doon ang pinansala ng bagyo.
So this was the worst affected area. From the reports we're getting, over 90% of the homes were either totally collapsed or partially damaged. Many of the homes here are made of local materials, not materials that can withstand a cyclone such as Chido. So this was one of the worst affected.
Tumutulong sa survivors ang ilang mga ahensya na humaharap din sa suliraning pangkomunikasyon dahil sa kawalan ng kuryente doon magpahanggang ngayon.
We have had an issue of power, of internet, and these are critical to support the response, especially in coordination and being able to really drive the response forward. But we've worked without it, and as you can see now, we're heading to the initial response. But you can see the devastation that Cyclone Chido created, especially for these very vulnerable families here.
Ayon sa opisyal na tala, tumaas na ang death toll sa 45 mula sa 34 kahapon. Sa Malawi naman, may 13 na ang naiulat na nasawi matapos lumapag ang bagyo sa bayan mula sa isla ng Mayotte. Samantala, tinayak ni Wasuna na patuloy ang pagtulong nila sa mga nasalanta, lalong-lalo na sa mga pamilyang may maliliit na bata.
We'll continue to do these kind of responses for the most vulnerable in the households, and then we move into our programs. At the same time, we're also checking in with families and children to ensure that children are not separated, to ensure that children are protected, because that's very important, especially when a crisis like this happens.
Naku, goodbye paper bills at hello polymer bills na po. Ipinakilala ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas o BSP ang mga bagong polymer banknote series ng bansa. Sa isang seremonya sa President's Hall sa Palasyo ng Malacanang, ipinakita ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang polymer banknotes na nasa denominasyon na 500 pesos, 100 pesos at 50 pesos. Ayon sa BSP, magagamit ang mga bagong pera na ito sa unang quarter ng taong 2025 at mas magandaan nila ito kaysa sa paper bills dahil mas enhance ang security nito kaya mas may iwasan ang pamemeke ng pera. Mas durable din nila ang mga polymer banknotes kumpara sa kasalukuyang mga paper bills.
At bago po matapos ang taon ay muling naglabas ng bagong artificial intelligence o AI tools ang Google. Kasunod ito ng paglabas ng ChatGPT maker OpenAI ng kanilang text-to-video generator na Sora. Sa pangunguna ng team ng Google DeepMind, inilabas naman ng Google ang sarili nitong AI generation model na Veo 2. Dito, pinalakas at pinaganda nito ang naunang version ng AI model na Veo. Paliwanag ng Google, kaya nito mag-generate ng video na may 4K resolution at kayang tumagal ng 2 minuto. Hindi katulad sa Sora AI na hanggang 1080p resolution at may limit pa na 20 seconds. Sa kasalukuyan ay available pa lamang ang Veo 2 sa Video FX tool ng Google at nasa experimental phase pa ito. Subalit plano ng Google na mas palalawakin pa ang features ng Veo 2 para magamit ito sa mga YouTube Shorts at ibang produkto ng tech giant sa taong 2025. Higit pa sa Veo 2, inilabas din ng Google ang kanilang image-to-image generator na Whisk. Ayon sa Google, malaki ang pagkakaiba nito sa DALL-E AI model ng OpenAI. Giit ng kumpanya, hinihayaan ng Whisk ang mga users nito na mag-remix ng mga subjects, eksena at estilo sa isang bago at malikhaing pamamaraan. Nabuo po ang Whisk sa pamamagitan ng pinagsamang lakas ng Gemini AI at Imagen 3 models. Samantala, sasailalim sa pagsasaayos ang ilang mga pangunahing sports facilities sa bansa. Nagkaroon na ng kasunduan ang Philippine Sports Commission o PSC at ang Department of Public Works and Highways o DPWH para sa pag-upgrade ng PhilSports Complex sa Pasig City at Rizal Memorial Sports Complex sa lungsod naman ng Maynila. Sinabi ni PSC Chairperson Richard Backman na layo ng nasabing rehabilitation ay para na rin sa kapakanan ng mga atleta. Isang malaking hakbang ito para mapanatiling ligtas at mapayapa ang mga atleta tuwing nagsasagawa ng pagsasanay sa mga nasabing pasilidad. Nakatakda namang itayo ang 12 palapag na gusali sa tapat mismo ng Ninoy Aquino Stadium kung saan makikita dito ang makabagong bowling facility at ang pagsasaayos na rin ng administrative building at Philippine Sports Museum.
Binigyan ng pagkilala ng US Navy ang Hollywood actor na si Tom Cruise. Ayon kay Secretary of the Navy Carlos Del Toro, ang Department of the Navy Distinguished Public Service Award ay iginawad sa aktor sa isang seremonya sa London. Kinikilala nila ang kontribusyon at dedikasyon ng actor na US Navy o sa US Navy sa pamamagitan ng kanyang pelikula. Ang nasabing award ay siyang pinakamataas na pagkilala na ibinibigay sa mga individual sa labas ng Department of the Navy. Ang mga pelikula kasi ng aktor ay nagdudulot ng public awareness at pagkilala sa mga trained personnel ng Navy at ang kanilang sakripisyo habang suot ang kanilang uniforme. Nakilala ang aktor sa 1996 na pelikulang Top Gun na ginampanan nito ang isang naval fighter pilot na noong 2022 ay nagkaroon ito ng sequel na Top Gun Maverick at ito ay pumatok sa takilya.
At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Muli, ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores, ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa iba pang mga balitang nanggaling din sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta po tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net 25 World News. On tonight's headlines. A shocking verdict out of France tonight. Dominique Pellicot gets 20 years behind bars for organizing repeated sexual assaults against his former wife. 50 others are also going to prison for taking part. And we're tracking major developments in Ukraine, where North Korean forces have reportedly taken heavy losses. 100 dead, another 1,000 wounded in fierce fighting near Kursk.
The heavy losses are attributed to North Korean troops' lack of experience in drone warfare, and they were mobilized as frontline stormtroops in open terrain, which they are unfamiliar with.
And at the UN, tensions are boiling over. The U.S. is sounding the alarm about Russia and North Korea getting too close for comfort on nuclear issues. North Korea's ambassador isn't helping, warning nuclear war could break out anytime.
Outbreak of the nuclear war in Northeast Asia is no longer a possibility, but a matter of time.
And talk about a long business trip. NASA astronauts Williams and Wilmore were supposed to spend 8 days in space, and they've been up there for 9 months now. And the news starts now. Crowds cheered as Dominique Pellicot was found guilty in a mass rape trial that has shocked the world. The case, which has made headlines, also turned Giselle Pellicot into a symbol of courage and resilience. In addition to Pellicot's conviction, a panel of judges found 20 out of 50 co-defendants guilty, rejecting their claims that they thought they were participating in a consensual sex game, or that Pellicot's consent meant his wife Giselle also agreed. The presiding judge announced the sentencing would be given after all verdicts were delivered. Prosecutors have requested a 20-year prison sentence for Pellicot and terms ranging from 4 to 18 years for the other defendants, most of whom are accused of raping Giselle while she was in a coma or while she was sleeping. Dominique Pellicot, 72, admitted to the charges during the 3-month trial, apologized to his family, and stated that all the men he invited into his home knew his now ex-wife was unaware of what was happening to her. Giselle, also 72, waived her right to anonymity during the trial and insisted that disturbing videos of the abuse recorded by her former husband be shown in court. She said she hoped this would encourage other women to speak up.
It is with profound emotion that I express myself before you. This trial was a very difficult ordeal, and in this moment, my first thoughts are with my 3 children, David, Caroline, and Florian. I am also thinking about my grandchildren because they are the future, and it is also for them that I fought this battle. I am also thinking about all the families that have been affected by this drama. Finally, I am thinking about the unrecognized victims whose stories often remain in the shadows. I want you to know that we share the same battle.
The trial has sparked protests across France in support of Giselle and led to a broader discussion about whether France should update its rape laws, particularly to make clear that consent is a key component of sex. South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol is ready to personally present his side of the story in the ongoing legal proceedings related to his brief declaration of martial law, and that is according to a lawyer advising him. Now, Suk Dong-yoon, a lawyer and longtime friend of President Yoon, shared on Thursday that multiple investigations into the president, which seem to overlap, should be streamlined. He also added that Yoon, who once served as a prosecutor, has already apologized for shocking the public with his martial law declaration, but has a clear stance on the issues at hand. Yoon caused a stir on December 3 when he declared martial law in a late-night address, only to retract it hours later after lawmakers rejected the decision. Yoon, who was impeached last Saturday by the National Assembly, now faces a constitutional court trial to determine whether his presidency will be ended or his powers restored. In addition, investigations are underway to see if his martial law declaration could be seen as insurrection, a charge that a South Korean president doesn't have immunity from. Regarding whether the martial law declaration breached the Constitution, Suk explained that Yoon viewed the situation as an emergency state due to the opposition party's control over parliament, cuts to the government budget, and the impeachment of government officials. This, he argued, justified the martial law move.
Given the characteristics of this case, if there are parts in the procedures where the president's thoughts, opinions, and convictions need to be clarified, I believe he is willing to directly address them without any postponements.
National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-shik disagreed, calling Yoon's justification flawed and pointing out that Yoon failed to communicate properly with Parliament or attend the opening session and budget discussions, unlike his predecessors. Currently staying at his residence with his duties suspended due to the impeachment, Yoon has not made any public comments since the impeachment. Suk emphasized that while Yoon regrets the national shock caused by his martial law declaration, he hopes the public will understand the president's pain in dealing with the opposition's power.
President Yoon Suk-yeol has already apologized for surprising and shocking the public, and he remains apologetic for that. But he has a clear and confident position on the issues that are in dispute and must be distinguished between right and wrong.
As for whether Yoon will comply with the investigations or respond to attempts to summon him, it remains uncertain. Suk noted that Yoon is still assembling legal teams to handle both the criminal investigations and the impeachment trial.
As President Yoon Suk-yeol was a prosecutor before he became president and worked in the legal field, he can use his own legal knowledge while in the court defending himself. It is highly likely for him to make decisions with his legalistic background for the pleadings or claim legal arguments favoring himself.
Meanwhile, the Presidential Security Service has stated it will not cooperate with attempted raids, and the Constitutional Court confirmed that its trial documents have not yet reached Yoon.
Alarmingly, we assess that Russia may be close to accepting North Korea's nuclear weapons program, reversing Moscow's decade-long commitment to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula.
Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said in September that Moscow viewed the notion of denuclearizing North Korea as a closed issue, as it understood Pyongyang's logic of relying on nuclear weapons as the foundation of its defense. South Korea and Britain both criticized Lavrov's remarks, saying he had undermined the global non-proliferation regime.
And Foreign Minister Lavrov's declaration that the notion of denuclearizing North Korea is a, quote, closed issue, unquote, is a reckless departure from the agreed principle of complete, verifiable, and irreversible disarmament, and undermines the Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Russia's UN ambassador, Vasily Nebenzia, did not reference North Korea's nuclear program when he addressed the council. He defended the growing cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang as Russia's sovereign right.
Now, turning to cooperation between Russia and Pyongyang, we have repeatedly set out our position that DPRK, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea, is our close neighbor and partner with whom we are developing relations in all areas. This is our sovereign right. Russian cooperation with the DPRK at the military and other areas is in accordance with international law, not in violation thereof. This is not directed against any third countries. It is not posing a threat to states in the region or the international community, and have no doubt, we will continue to develop such cooperation.
Russia has forged closer diplomatic and military ties with North Korea since invading Ukraine in February 2022. And Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea leader Kim Jong-un have visited each other's countries. North Korea's UN Ambassador Song described the closer ties as a positive contribution to international peace and security, and citing what Pyongyang sees as a US-led nuclear-based military bloc in the region, he also said this.
DPRK will never tolerate the arbitrary and high-handed practice of the United States and its following policies in an attempt to impose a monopoly and a system of domination. Outbreak of the nuclear war in Northeast Asia is no longer a possibility, but a matter of time.
South Korea's UN Ambassador Jun Kook-hwang warned the Security Council to expect further uncertainties looming over the horizon ahead of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump taking office for a second term next month.
North Korea has a history of provocative actions during U.S. presidential transitions, designed to grab attention, raise the stakes, and set the stage for direct negotiations with the new U.S. administration. This pattern can recur within the upcoming months. This time, it could be another ICBM or a military satellite launch, or even its seventh nuclear test.
North Korea has been under UN Security Council sanctions since 2006, and the measures have been steadily strengthened over the years with the aim of halting Pyongyang's development of nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. The United States voiced alarm at the UN Security Council that Russia was close to accepting a nuclear-armed North Korea, as Moscow and Pyongyang defended their growing cooperation.
Alarmingly, we assess that Russia may be close to accepting North Korea's nuclear weapons program, reversing Moscow's decade-long commitment to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula.
Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said in September that Moscow viewed the notion of denuclearizing North Korea as a closed issue, as it understood Pyongyang's logic of relying on nuclear weapons as the foundation of its defense. South Korea and Britain both criticized Lavrov's remarks, saying he had undermined the global non-proliferation regime.
And Foreign Minister Lavrov's declaration that the notion of denuclearizing North Korea is a, quote, closed issue, unquote, is a reckless departure from the agreed principle of complete, verifiable, and irreversible disarmament, and undermines the Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Russia's UN ambassador, Vasily Nebenzia, did not reference North Korea's nuclear program when he addressed the Council. He defended the growing cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang as Russia's sovereign right.
Now, turning to cooperation between Russia and Pyongyang, we have repeatedly set out our position that DPRK, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea, is our close neighbor and partner with whom we are developing relations in all areas. This is our sovereign right. Russian cooperation with the DPRK at the military and other areas is in accordance with international law, not in violation thereof. This is not directed against any third countries. It is not posing a threat to states in the region or the international community, and have no doubt, we will continue to develop such cooperation.
Russia has forged closer diplomatic and military ties with North Korea since invading Ukraine in February 2022. And Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea leader Kim Jong-un have visited each other's countries. North Korea's UN Ambassador Song described the closer ties as a positive contribution to international peace and security, and citing what Pyongyang sees as a US-led nuclear-based military bloc in the region, he also said this.
DPRK will never tolerate the arbitrary and high-handed practice of the United States and its following policies in an attempt to impose a monopoly and a system of domination. Outbreak of the nuclear war in Northeast Asia is no longer a possibility, but a matter of time.
South Korea's UN Ambassador Jun Kook-hwan warned the Security Council to expect further uncertainties looming over the horizon ahead of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump taking office for a second term next month.
North Korea has a history of provocative actions during U.S. presidential transitions, designed to grab attention, raise the stakes, and set the stage for direct negotiations with the new U.S. administration. This pattern can recur within the upcoming months. This time, it could be another ICBM or a military satellite launch or even its seventh nuclear test.
North Korea has been under UN Security Council sanctions since 2006, and the measures have been steadily strengthened over the years with the aim of halting Pyongyang's development of nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. At least 100 North Korean soldiers sent to fight in Russia have been killed, with another 1,000 injured in intense clashes with Ukrainian forces in the Kursk region. That is according to South Korean lawmaker Lee Sung-kwon.
National Intelligence Service, NIS, reported that there have been at least 100 deaths of North Korean troops, and the injured are approaching 1,000. The heavy losses are attributed to North Korean troops' lack of experience in drone warfare, and they were mobilized as front-line stormtroops in open terrain, which they are unfamiliar with.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky sounded the alarm earlier this week, warning that the number of North Korean troops in Russia could surge to 100,000.
Putin has brought 11,000 North Korean troops to Ukraine's borders. This contingent may grow to 100,000. While some European leaders think about, some elections or something like this at Ukraine's expense, Putin is focused on winning this war. He will not stop on his own. The more time he has, the worse the conditions become. Every today is the best moment to push Russia harder, and it's clear without certain key factors, Russia will lack real motivation to engage in meaningful negotiations.
Adding to the developments, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump spoke about the humanitarian cost of the war, calling it the worst carnage since World War II. Trump also indicated plans to engage directly with both Zelensky and Putin.
And one of the people that came to pay his respects is, as you know, Ukraine, Zelensky. And he would like to have peace. He wants peace. Everyone's being killed. It's the worst carnage that this world has seen since World War II. I've had pictures of fields where bodies are lying on top of bodies. Looks like the old pictures of the Civil War, where just bodies are all over. Just if you saw those pictures, you'd feel more strongly about it. It's got to stop. And we're trying to get it to stop. Well, we're gonna see. We're going to be talking. We'll be talking to President Putin, and we'll be talking to the representatives, Zelensky and representatives from Ukraine. We got to stop it. It's carnage.
When asked if Ukraine should cede territory to Russia,
well, I'm going to let you know that after I have my first meeting. But a lot of that territory, when you look at what's happened to those, I mean, there are cities that there's not a building standing. It's a demolition site. There's not a building standing. So people can't go back to those cities. There's nothing there. It's just rubble. Just like when I knocked down a building in Manhattan, which is actually, this is worse, actually, because we do it step by step. This thing has just got demolished. And by the way, in those buildings are many people. Many people were in those buildings. When they say the number in Ukraine is going to be a much higher number of death, is going to be a much higher number than you're hearing.
Amid this, Putin's recent treaty with North Korea, which includes a mutual defense provision further solidifies the growing partnership between Moscow and Pyongyang. North Korean troops have reportedly been deployed in significant numbers in the Kursk region, a flashpoint of heavy fighting since Ukraine's cross-border incursion in August. The situation remains dire, with escalating human costs and rising geopolitical tensions. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared that the country's economy remains stable and continues to advance despite facing significant challenges. Speaking at a key event, Putin highlighted Russia's ability to weather economic pressures, citing its global standing.
And the economic situation in this country, by and large, is normal, is stable. We keep advancing against all odds, despite external threats and attempts to impact us. Last year, the economic growth was at 3.6% in annualized terms, and this year it's going to be at 3.9 or even 4%.
International economic and financial institutions are putting Russia as the #1 economy. We're speaking about the purchasing power parity and #4 economy in the world. And only China, the United States, India are ahead of us. So we are ahead of Germany, and this year we have outrun Japan as well.
In other news, Russian President Vladimir Putin sparked attention on Thursday when he proposed a missile duel with the U.S. to demonstrate the power of Russia's new Oreshnik hypersonic ballistic missile. According to Putin, the test would show how Oreshnik could defeat any U.S. missile defense system.
Шансов никаких нет для того, чтобы сбить эти ракеты. Ну а если вот те
There is no chance to shoot down these missiles. Well, if those Western experts you mentioned think so, that Oreshnik can be shot down, we propose them and those in the West and the United States to pay them for their analysis, to conduct some kind of technological experiment, a high-tech duel of the XX century. Let them name some object, let's say, in Kyiv. Concentrate all their air defense and missile defense forces there, and we will hit it with Oreshnik and see what happens. We are ready for such an experiment. Is the other side ready?
And the news continues here on Net 25 World News. We'll be right back.
Dahil walang hinto ang balita.
Financial straits.
Mata ng Agila Weekend tuwing Sabado, alas 4 ng hapon. Ito ang Net 25. Matatag, matapag, matapak.
Let's net together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Vietnam is looking to expand its international defense cooperation to build trust and prevent conflicts, according to Prime Minister. Today, the United States, in turn, expressed interest in playing a significant role in the country's defense sector. Speaking at the opening of Vietnam's second International Arms Fair, which runs Hanoi, Prime Minister Chin described the event as a message of peace, cooperation, and development.
Vietnam is firm in our, for no, defense policies, not participating in military alliances, not allying with one country to fight another, not allowing foreign countries to set up military bases or use our territory to attack another country, not using force or threatening to use force in international affairs.
Nearly 250 exhibitors from around the world, including the U.S., China, Russia, Britain, Iran, and Israel, are participating in the fair. Chin reaffirmed Vietnam's commitment to its 4-no policy, not joining military alliances, not aligning with one country to oppose another, not allowing foreign military bases or the use of its territory against another nation, and not resorting to force or threats in international relations. Vietnam, a major weapons importer, especially from Russia, has been investing in its defense capabilities, particularly in the context of regional tensions, including ongoing disputes with China over territorial boundaries in the South China Sea. Staying in Vietnam, police there have arrested a man suspected of starting a deadly fire that claimed the lives of 11 people following an argument at a Hanoi cafe. Authorities revealed that 2 of the 7 people pulled from the flames are now in the hospital. The suspect, in his early 50s, confessed to using gasoline to ignite the fire on Wednesday night, and the blaze broke out on the ground floor of the 3-story cafe, which was also hosting a karaoke session at the time.
When I was opening my gate, I noticed a column of smoke from afar. I was so frightened that I had to urge my grandchild to go downstairs. Then, I shouted out to notify the neighbors of a big fire in the neighborhood. Many heard my warning, and then grabbed their kids to go downstairs and move their combustible vehicles away quickly. The flame was so fierce. We saw the fire engulfing, but there was nothing else we could do.
In response to the tragedy, Vietnam's Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh has called for an urgent investigation and strict action against those responsible. President Marcos Jr. said that it's still too soon to make a decision on Mary Jane Veloso's appeal for clemency. Veloso, a convicted drug courier, will have her case reviewed first by the government's legal experts, according to the president.
Malayo pa tayo dun. We still have to have a look at really what her status is. And then, of course, we're aware of the request for clemency from her representatives, of course, and from her family. And we will leave it to the legal judgment, of our legal experts to determine whether the provision of clemency is appropriate. So we'll have to look at the wala namang condition ang binigay ng Indonesia. So it's really up to us. But we're still at the very preliminary stage of her pag-uwi.
China's President Xi Jinping met with Macau's chief executive, Ho Lat-seng, ahead of the 25th anniversary of Beijing's rule over the former Portuguese territory. Now, during the meeting, Xi praised Ho's leadership, particularly his efforts to uphold the one country, two systems policy and protect national sovereignty.
Macau, with its unique advantage of one country, two systems, has laid a solid foundation for development. Riding the powerful momentum of national rejuvenation and building a strong country, it is fully equipped and capable of soaring higher, advancing further and achieving even greater development.
This marks Xi's third visit to Macau as president, and he's set to attend the inauguration of the new chief executive elected in October. Several roads were closed on Wednesday while the light rapid transit operator halted services for a section of its lines. Several flights were also rescheduled or canceled. The road closures and traffic arrangements will remain in force until Friday, according to Macau's Transport Bureau. Now, separately, consular services in Macau were postponed after Beijing's Ministry of Foreign Affairs refused to issue visas for Hong Kong-based diplomats to go to Macau. And finally, in our news, NASA astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore's return to Earth will be further delayed until at least late March. That is according to NASA, taking what should have been an 8-day stay on the International Space Station to more than 9 months now. The duo had traveled to the ISS in June for the test mission, but their return was extended by 8 months to February after the Boeing Starliner capsule they arrived on was deemed unfit to return to Earth.
It's really a tough situation for the two of them, and they've handled it incredibly well, and they're such professionals, which of course they are, but I think it's really on the one hand, people are like, oh no, they're stuck in space. And on the other hand, it's almost like business as usual, people at the International Space Station.
Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore traveled to the ISS in June for a test mission, but their return was delayed to early 2025 The Boeing Starliner capsule they arrived on was deemed unfit to return them to Earth.
Welcome to the International Space Station.
In the meantime, they have welcomed new spacefarers to the ISS and pushed through challenging times.
It was trying at times. There were some tough times all the way through.
I miss my 2 dogs. I miss my friends. But you know what? Like Butch said, there are so many people on Earth that are sending us messages, and it makes you feel just right at home with everybody when we're able to have those conversations with our friends and family at home.
Now NASA says they will have to wait still a while longer as teams complete processing on a spacecraft for the 4-person crew that will replace them on board the ISS. The agency did not specify a date for the return party, which will include Williams and Wilmore, as well as another NASA astronaut and a Russian cosmonaut who arrived over 3 months after them. Erica Hamden is the director of the University of Arizona Space Institute. She says these delays aren't as unusual as people may think.
It's actually like very ordinary. It's just the fact that these are like 2 astronauts that are stuck in space that people are like, they're delayed even longer. Like, it's just like icing on the cake.
Hamden anticipates that already embattled plane maker Boeing will face heightened scrutiny for future launches. And a positive Hamden sees coming out of the ordeal for Williams and Wilmore: bragging rights.
One of the things astronauts talk about is how many days, hours, minutes they spent in space. So these 2 are going to have a lot to brag about.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Good night.